Guys, what is going on? I'm Teal, and welcome to another vlog episode. I'm sure most of you already know by now that I do play live casino poker at a competitive level, and if you don't already know, well, I do. I don't play it full-time, and I do play part-time. I don't think I've ever really mentioned it, but today we are at Casino Niagara, and we're in Niagara Falls. It is actually really cloudy, and it's rainy, and it's really misty. But you know, we're on the list. We're about to get ready, and we got the casino right behind us. Actually, you can't really see it all too well, so I just gotta walk around a little bit and do a little tour. I know that you guys like doing scenic tours and whatnot. We're actually just walking around like this little, I don't know, maybe a pavilion. I don't know what it's really called, but it's kind of cool. Probably see it behind me. It's a park, huge park out here. A lot more awesome in the summertime. But here, I'm just gonna do a quick little demo of it, and yeah, I guess I'm gonna see you in a little bit. I'm probably gonna see you tomorrow, so I'm gonna do the scenery, and we're gonna talk about the hands, I guess, in the next segment. Okay, see ya. Alright guys, so I guess I'm gonna start walking back now, and yeah, I'm gonna catch you in a little bit. Probably just gonna say a quick hello when I finish the session, and just kind of give you like a quick little update. Yeah, I don't know, it's raining, wearing my hood doesn't look all that pleasant, and I'm not really dressed all that well right now, but alright, see you guys in a little bit. What is up? Welcome to the poker hands, and I know that I said I'm probably gonna say like a quick little something when I finish my session, but you know, it was rainy, didn't want to get my camera out, so basically that session I was down just a little shy of a buy-in, and yeah, let's just like kind of like go into it. There was nothing too crazy that happened, but I'd first like to shout out to Jack. You know, it was freaking awesome. Like, we were playing together for maybe 30-40 minutes or something like that, and then he's like, yo, I watch your vlogs, and I was like, dude, you knew this whole time. So he's playing with me, and he obviously wants to, like, you know, pick off one of my bluffs or whatever, because he obviously seen some of the stuff that I do. So yeah, I guess he couldn't hold it in anymore, man. He couldn't hold it in. So hey Jack, if you're watching, I already told him. I was like, called him out, man. Freaking sneaky. That sneaky wants to just trap. And I'm sure there are more of you out there that are kind of like doing the same thing. But anyway, shout out to Obi as well, and his son, who also watches the vlog. Don't know the son's name, but if you comment below, say I know Obi. I know Obi is the guy that, well, I'm not gonna say how I know him, but I know Obi. You know how I know that it's you, because there's probably only one person that comments in my vlogs that has that name. So anyway, let's just jump straight to the hands, guys. All right, hand number one. Before we jump into it, you know, we've been playing around for maybe 3-4 hands max. Like, we definitely didn't get a full orbit in. I think we posted on the cutoff, and we're coming around into the blinds. So yeah, we've played a few hands, and the opponent to the right of us just ended up getting like bluffed out of a pretty sizable pot, and he had kind of like he had to call off maybe 20% of a stack, or 20% relative to the pot, for a river bet. And I think most of the time, guys, like if your odds are that good, you should be calling. Like 20% is a chance your opponent is bluffing, especially if you have, you know, maybe some blockers, or you feel like your opponent's kind of like on a draw and you have a pair. Like if they got a flush draw, you think they might have a flush draw, and you have like you turned or you flopped a pair or something like that. Maybe it's worthwhile to just call, see what happens, calm him down. But anyways, he got bluffed out, so he felt pretty bad, and yeah, that's kind of the gist of the first hand. We're in the big blind. We got ace king, 700 effective, because this 2-5 game is actually a deep 2-5, so you can even buy up to $1,000. But I just bought him for like 700. E1 opens to $15, and the button calls. So goes to the small blind, and again, small blind is a guy that just lost. He lost to a bluff. He had the best hand. He folded a pair. He folded second pair, actually. He even showed it. And he decides to go to 80. And he's got, like a total of, whatever it is. Like 150, I think. And then E1 also has about 300 left. So at this point, we're kind of worried about E1. I haven't really, seen him do too much. And I just think that a hand like ace king, you're playing 2-5 or playing live, yeah, it's a strong hand, but versus early position 1 raisers generally are pretty strong. But in this case, he raised to like 15, more of a standard raise I find with players that seem recreational is like, the higher the hand, stronger the hand, lower the bet, lower the hand. I said higher the hand, higher the bet. Higher the hand, higher the bet, yeah. That makes sense. Just, that's the main thing. So I figured that his hand is not that strong. And I'm pretty happy just getting it in for $300 with ace king. I mean, I don't mind. So I decided to re-raise it. And I decided to go to 205. So I 4-bet small blind to 205. And it folds around back to him. And then he just calls the rest of it for 150. And we flip over ace king really fast. And he says, ooh, wrong time to do that. So it sounds like he was bluffing, and the board comes out ace king 9. So he said, I've got 2 live cards before we went in, and I'm like, yeah, you're definitely not live after an ace king 9. Deuce on the turn, and now he's calling for another 2. So I'm like, what does he have? 7 deuce, 3 on the river, and obviously we take the hand down. He's a little embarrassed to show, and he reloads. So first hand, guys, we get a little bit of value with ace king. Not bad. So far it's looking good. But as you already know, things are gonna, not turn out so good. So next hand number 2, we got pocket queens. We are in the big blind, 750. We're 8-handed. E1, same guy as in the first hand, now raises to 20. So remember, like, I think that lower the bet, lower the hand, higher the bet, higher the hand. And I think it kind of makes sense. So I'm already putting in something better. Something like along the lines, I think, of like pocket 9s plus. And obviously like king, queen, king, jack suited plus. Maybe queen, jack sometimes, king, queen offsuit. Somewhere around there. So big cards and pairs, and pocket queens does pretty damn good against that range. So we're gonna see what happens. Everybody folds around actually to the small blind, and small blind, same guy that is a little bit tilting, calls. Now we go to 75, and E2 now goes all in for 350. So at this point, I already made my mind up. I'm like, look, I'm gonna raise, and if he goes in, that's fine. I got queens. I still think my hand's pretty damn strong. I've already done it before, and he's seen that at ace king. So he feels like, if he's got 10s, maybe he's going to rip it. Maybe he's going to rip jacks, thinking that, I might fold ace king. So I think that queens is just a little too strong. Small blind folds, and we just call. And the board runs out. Jack, king, jack, 9, 8. And our opponent kind of like slowly is trying to flip over his cards. And then he flips them over like, dude, yeah, I know you got ace, king. Like, why are you flipping them so slow? That's literally a slow roll. And the way he was tossing his chips, like some of his other hands, was a little odd. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe it seems like he was like all cocky about poker or whatever. But I think that's kind of like a little bit of a slow roll. I wouldn't suggest doing that, guys. Like, if you have a king and you're the last person that did the action, like a king on a king, jack, jack board is pretty good. And you're most likely good. So don't slow roll. And for the sake of it, we showed him queens. Like, yo, look, you just killed queens. Like, we had a good hand. So it's not like we were messing around. Build our image a little bit. Hand number 3. Pocket kings. And we are in middle position 2. 700. Yes, we donked. A few more hands. Actually, we ran a bluff. Didn't work. Don't want to put the bluff on because I feel it gives a little bit too much about my game and how I approach certain situations. So I'm going to leave that one out. But for the guys that saw it at the table, Jack, for your eyes only. Okay, man? All right. E1 opens, and E1 is a pretty damn loose player. Like, he's the guy that I ran the bluff on, and I realized, like, damn, this guy opened that hand under the gun. And he's probably watching this right now because, you know, we kind of talked about the vlog and he knows that I'm vlogging. So, yeah. He opened 6-10 offsuit from early position. So, if he's opening that hand, like, I wonder what this hand is. So, you got an idea of what E1's all about. Middle position 1 raises to 50, and he's the guy that has been stressed out that, you know, he got bluffed out of a pot. He's been trying to beat people up with 6-3 off, so he goes to 50, and it folds around to us, actually, for next. At this point, you know, you don't want to go to 50 because it's such a small raise from 20, and you're going to get a whole bunch of guys that could potentially cold call $50 behind you. You just don't want to be in a bad spot. And you're giving E1, which is a pretty damn loose player. Like, he opens a whole bunch of stuff. He's most likely going to call like $30, right? So you want to make it a little harder for him to call if it does get around to him. We race here to 115, and it gets back to E1. And he's a little frustrated at this point. He doesn't really want us to put in this raise. Then he asks me, like, how much do I got? And then stares me down. I guess he's pretty mad that, you know, I've just 4-bet the situation. So he probably had a hand that he wanted to play. Maybe had a like suited connector, 4-5 suited, something like that, 6-7 or something. And he just thought maybe it's just not worth it. Maybe some gappers, whatever. So in any case, so now it's back to M1, and then he cuts out a bunch of reds. I'm thinking he might, you know, put it all in. But he decides to call. Okay. So at this point, I'm thinking like, man, he most likely has like an ace high hand, or maybe like a hand like jacks, which is obviously pretty damn good for us. I think when he calls here, our hand is pretty much crushing everything. I think that if he had aces, he's just the type of player that he's just, you know, he's going to get excited and he feels like I already put in that much money. He thinks that I'm just going to, you know, call it off. So I feel like if he has aces, he's probably going to put another bet himself. So yeah, I could count aces out of his range. So when the board comes 2, 3, 7, 2 diamonds, and, you know, we got a king of diamonds too. I mean, it looks pretty damn good for us. This is a super low board, and if he's got a pair, like even pocket 10s, like he's going to at least call 1 bet. Maybe potentially even stack off, because we kind of been a little bit aggressive. Seen us run a big bluff like that against the 6-10 offsuit, or E1 in this particular case. So he knows that we can run big bluffs, and I think that, you know, it's good for us to get paid. But anyways, we decide to c-bet $100 after he checks to us. And, you know, looks at his hand a little bit, and looks at us, and, like, looks at it again, and you know that feeling when somebody looks at their hand, and they do one of these, like, You just know a fold is coming, right? You just know a fold is coming. So yeah, he tosses his hand and we don't get any more money. So we're on to hand number 4, guys. Kings, whatever. Better to win a little bit than to lose a lot. So number 4. Queen Jack offsuit, 9-handed, and it's straddled. So we've agreed to do like one round of straddles and everybody's straddling. So guys, about straddles, if everybody's doing a straddle, I'm totally cool with it. I personally don't straddle just like randomly on my own just because. But if everybody agrees that, or just say 9 out of 10 guys agree, then I'm just going to do it because it's great. Everybody's having a good time, brings up the stakes, and, some big pots can definitely brew. And if everybody's doing it, then it's, it's fair field, fair game for everybody. So it's just, it's fine. If everybody does it, it's cool. But if like one guy or 2 guys or 3 guys doing it, then I'm not going to straddle. So that's kind of my stance on the straddle, and everybody agreed on it. So we're straddling. We're in the straddle, guys. And E2 opens to 35, and E2 is a pretty competent player. So, and I definitely think he's got some range there in early position too. M1 calls, M2 calls, small blind calls. And this is where we decide to bump it up. We think about, what's a good size to like bet here? What's a good size to put enough pressure and, get guys like on the edge of their seat? Because guys, is a straddle pot, and if you put, say, $200, that's a pretty big chunk of somebody's stack. Like, we're playing 2-5. Putting in $200 is quite a lot of money. So I think that if we get through the first person, everybody else should fold. So I decided to go 215. And it's a great hand to do it. You're blocking queens, you're blocking jacks, a lot of value hands that under the gun is gonna have. And you're blocking hands that potentially M1 and M2 might have as well. Because I think that if they're probably going to 3-bet a hand like that themselves, like queens or jacks. Obviously, they're 3-betting aces and kings, so we know that it's pretty less likely that they have those kind of hands, unless they're, specifically waiting for somebody that is a habitual 3-better to, like, squeeze it up, which nobody at the table has been. So I totally discount those hands, and I think it's a pretty good spot to raise, so that's why we 3-bet. And we decide to squeeze to 215. And then it folds around to M2, so we get E2 to fold. So I'm feeling pretty damn good at this point. And then he looks at me, looks at a stack, continues to look at me, and thinks about maybe for almost a minute. And he eventually lays down his hand, and he says he's got ace-queen suited, which was a great hand to actually 3-bet pre-flop. So if he 3-bet it, he would have won the hand. But instead, we took it down with queen jack. So that's how you sometimes have to play a straddle. Now, straddle pot, I don't really, care too much for defending that straddle. I'm not going to do that with a really crappy hand, like I'm not going to, get in there with like 9-4 off or something just because it's my straddle. I got to defend it. So, play your hands wisely, guys. Hand number 5. This is the fun hand that you guys have been waiting for. This is where we make a pretty damn cheeky call. I wouldn't say it's the hardest call on earth, but this is how it goes down. We got king jack of diamonds, straddled pot, and we're about $1,000 effective now. And it's 9-handed, and E1 opens to 40. Okay. E1 is the very loose opener with the 6-10 offsuit, and the same guy that stared us down a little earlier in the hand, right? When we had those kings, they don't want to fold to a 4-bet. So, we got a little bit of a dynamic going on. And he owes us a pot because we bluffed him, and he made a pretty good call on the river. He got there, yeah, but, what are you going to do? Sometimes people get there on the river. Sometimes guys go runner 9-9 to make a boat and beat ace king. So anyway, he opens to 40. We 3-bet to 100, and it folds back to him. And again, he stares us down, asks us how much we have, and then decides to call. And the flop is
Queen, Jack, 4. 2 hearts and a club. So no backdoor flush draw. But we do have second pair, a really strong kicker. And again, we're blocking hands like king, queen. So, it's way less likely that he's got a queen. So he checks, and I think it's perfectly fine to check. Sometimes you can bet here, but most of the time I think it's good to check, especially against a opponent that I feel is going to be really like check raise heavy in a spot like this. And I just don't really want to, put my hand kind of like no man's land. My hand is just too much value. So I don't want to butcher it by betting. So I check 8 offsuit on the turn. And at this point, he bets 125. The 8 on the turn is a brick card, so you just got to call. So I called 8 on the river, guys. And at this point, we still like our hand. Our hand is pretty damn good. And, it's a paired board. Nothing much out there. Like, the only thing that makes it straight is obviously 10-9, which was the nuts on the turn. But there's a chance that he's got 10-9, but, he can't really be 100%. So at this point, he cuts out 375. And, kind of like really think about what he's doing this with. Is he really triple barreling out of position with a hand like ace queen? When actually would be double barreling with ace queen. I don't know. He might have decided to 4-bet it because he kind of had some beef with us pre-flop. In the other hand with kings, right? Like, it just kind of seems like we got something going back and forth. So I think that he might have wanted to go for a 4-bet maybe with a hand like ace queen. He's blocking aces and queens pre-flop, so I think he might have thought about doing that. And of course we're blocking a queen, and if he's got a jack like ace jack, would ace jack really bet again on the river? I think he probably might check. So, some of the time I think we are going to be beat here. It is possible. But, since we're blocking some of his value hands, I think that is perfectly fine to just call. Once you call the turn and the river is such a brick, if the bet is relatively small and not like a giant overbet on the river, then I think it's fine to call here. So I throw in a $500 chip, and he says, "You're good." Flips over, pocket 7s. So we take that one down, and we show him the bad news. We show him that we called him with a jack. Some of the guys couldn't believe it, and, sometimes, guys, you got to make a hero call, You can't just, knit it up there and wait for aces or sets or boats or 2-pair or all that fun stuff all the time. And when you have a hand like second pair, pretty good. It's pretty good. I think you don't really need to bet 7s there. 7s do have value. Like, if I was on a draw or something, could have ace high. I could have some ace kings. That might be playing the same way. Maybe I got a hand like ace 10. I might bet the flop with ace 10, but still, I think with pocket 7s, you can easily check back on the river. You don't have to go for 375. But, hey, if you decide to bet 375, I might just call you down with a better hand. Anyways, I hope you like the hands. And I know that we didn't have many firecrackers or anything really going on in this session, but hopefully next session is going to be a profitable one. And looking forward to seeing you. As usual, like, subscribe, and thank you guys again for watching. And hopefully I'm going to see more of you guys out in the poker environment, on the battlefield, maybe in the ring. I think it's more of a ring, not really battlefield, but see you guys in the ring. Okay, have a good night.